Hey, welcome. It's Leona Ray here, and welcome in this episode. We're going to be talking about very interesting and very common topic today in spiritual communities and the framework of medicine will. You can be spiritually advanced and still broke. You can be deeply healed emotionally and still stuck in the same sexual patterns when you were 22. This is so common that people develop differently in different aspects of life. You can run circles, hold ceremonies, guide other people through their darkest nights and still be unconsciously replaying your mother's relationship with money. This is so interesting to study, and I wanted to create a modality called Freedom Flow, which explains why is this happening. So this is not a contradiction, it's not hypocrisy, and it's not a character flaw. It's because consciousness doesn't move as one thing. It's not just one big pillar of light. It moves as many things, like many elevators in one building at different speed, in different areas of your life, and almost nobody teaches that. Today I'm going to give you a map, and it is a map I use with every facilitator I train, with the clients they come. And it is the one thing that changes how you see your own stuckness and how you see the people in front of you. So I really hope this will bring you some illumination and awareness. Let's start with the container. The medicine wheel is one of the oldest maps of human development on Earth. It is divided in 4 directions and 4 aspects of what it means to be a whole person. It also entrains you with circadian rhythm of the earth, and it aligns you with the seasons of Mother Earth. So let's start with the South. South represents body, roots, presence, material possessions, money. This is where you learn to be here, in your body, in your life, without needing to escape it. West is representing emotional body, shadow, insight, transformation, and release. Also, this what you need to let go. This is our psyche underworld, the place you go when something in you needs to die before it can be reborn. This is where grief lives. Rage lives here. This is where you meet the parts of yourself you were thought you will hide. This is excellent direction to work with fear as well. North, representing spirit, vision, integration. This is a spiritual energetical realignment. This is where you return to serve something bigger than your own story, where your transformation becomes useful to other people, not just meaningful to you. Almost here you unpacking your gifts too. In the East, the 4th quarter of the eel represents the mind, clarity, and emergence. This is your rebirth place. This is where your vision becomes decision, where your insight turns into a plan turns into movement, which then takes you to the south direction, and the whole cycle repeats. So we know that in the medicine wheel also there are certain gates which we call the rite of passage. So between west and north, this is where the human leave that plane and getting into the soul and the spirit. And then the second gate is from the north to east, where the souls incarnate and being reborn to the earth. So north is literally the realm of the spirit and your ancestry. And here is the part almost no one says clearly. This will is not a woman's framework. It's not a men's framework. It's a human framework. Every person, regardless of gender, moves through body, emotion, spirit or energy, and mind. What's different from person to person isn't the will, it's what specifically has to die and what specifically gets to be born. So that's why in Freedom Flow I always ask you, what would you like to be liberated from and what would you like to manifest instead? And here I wanted to mention a little bit about the rite of passage, because the rite of passage in this modern day are quite lost and we have a lot of trouble with the human psyche. If we will restore rites of passage, I'm sure the world will be the better place. But this is where the priestesses of death and rebirth comes. The people like myself and the trained facilitators who can navigate with you that difficult transition. So let me talk about men's rite of passage because it's a little bit different to the female. The men rite of passage traditionally are built around ordeal proving separation from the mother, domestic world. Then they test for endurance or courage, earning belonging through demonstrated capability. This is when the man comes back to the village. Women's rights center more on revelation. The body itself initiates the first blood, the birth of a child, and a menopause. So ritual exists to help her consciously meet the gates of passage that's already happening biologically rather than to manufacture one artificially. This is also very much lost. Now, every time you move through this wheel in a real way, not the surface way, but to really embodying real way, it follows the same shape. Cultures across history recognize this shape independently of each other because it's not cultural, it's psychological. So let's talk about death. Death exists and it is inventable. So something ends. The threshold gets crossed, sometimes by choice, usually not. A diagnosis, a breakup, a business failing, a child born. You don't get to pick when the threshold shows up. So this is a massive transformation. In the tarot deck, transformation is represented by the death card, not literally that you need to die. Then after that, you go into the descent. You drop energy, clarity, identity. All of it can feel like it's disappearing. It's like you are being dissolved. This is the part where people mistake for something going wrong. It's not going wrong. You cannot access what's underneath your old identity without going below it first. So sometimes these parts are very, very challenging. Then we're going through rebirth. The new way of being starts to take shape, usually only after you've stopped fighting the descent. More surrender to the descent, quicker rebirth that is. And then we follow the integration. This is the piece almost everyone skips. Shame. Rebirth means nothing if it doesn't show up in how you actually live. Your relationships, your money, your body, your work. Integration is where inside becomes a new way of functioning. This is actually where the change is, not really in ceremony, but in incorporating changes and wisdom in your everyday life and your responses. So hold on to this shape, death, descent, rebirth, integration. We're about to use it on something you've probably never applied to it. So here's where I can maybe bring you some real development psychology, specifically the work of Claire Graves and later Ken Wilber. This is really amazing book, The Integral Life Practice. And the most rigorous map maker of human consciousness alive today. So we will be discussing a little bit more about that now. And the idea is simple. Even though the research behind it isn't, human beings don't just grow emotionally. We grow through entire worldviews, entire operating systems, which I love to study. For making meaning, and each time we outgrow one worldview, it feels exactly like the death and rebirth we just talked about, because it is that. So the whole interest is that those worldviews don't like each other. Therefore, there is so much division in opinion and judgment on planet Earth between the humans. So really, you pick where you are and on which lines of consciousness. I'm going to give you 3 of these worldviews in plain language. And also, we're going to look later on certain topics. So orange, this is the achievement mind. This is the orange room. Look at that, the 3rd floor building. I prove my worth through results. Orange build modern ambition, modern business, modern science, and it's best, it's real when it's resourceful and there is a real drive into it. And it is worst, your entire sense of worth becomes conditional to winning. You are nothing if you don't achieve or win. Green, this is the community mind. This is our being in the heart center. Orange eventually burns out or feels hollow from work, for proving, from rescuing. You win and it doesn't actually fill the hole. So consciousness moves towards connection instead. Equality, consensus, feelings, every perspective matters. And this is our green room. This is our 4th level in our building. And it's best when real belonging and real empathy really moves in. So at its worst, green gets so afraid of hierarchy that it can't claim its own authority, its own mastery, or even charge what's worth, because that might make it better than someone else. That's why so many healers in this community orientated are so broke. Go to festivals, you will probably meet many of them. Yellow. This is another level in our building. We're moving higher. This is the integrated mind. And in this transition, green into yellow is a much bigger death than orange to green, because green's entire identity, where more spiritual people are, is built on being equal to everyone and judging no one's worldview as more evolved, which is so fair and square. Yet yellow has to let that go. Yellow can see that some ways of operating really are more whole, more inclusive, more capable of holding complexity without needing to make anyone wrong for what they are. Yellow can use orange's drive and green's empathy on purpose, depending on what the moment calls for. So we also move in that elevators between the lines. That's why we learn in each room and what we're taking from that level of consciousness. If I were translating this into our freedom flow medicine wheel and how I would go through it, green would say, I heal. Yellow would say, I understand how healing works. So actually understanding why we're doing things we do. The turquoise, which is another level, I become a living expression of wholeness. This is, then the next level is pure embodiment. So if we will look at this in that level, many spiritual people probably are quite high in that realm, but probably quite low on the other lines of consciousness. So that's transition. Green to yellow is genuine ego death, not a metaphor. This is often what people touch in real plant medicine ceremony, a real dark night of the soul, a real awakening. I've been through one of the deaths initiation, which I didn't really ask for, through crisis, 11th of September, where I was literally connected to the Divine Mother, to the primal field, and send it to the most unconditional love. I really, from that most place, I would never be scared of death, because seriously, it's so much better. Obviously, I'm not saying, but this is the conscious connection to that primal force, or what we call Divine Mother, the organizing primal force of the universe. But here's the catch. And this is the whole point of today's video. You don't move through orange to green and yellow as a single self. It would be just too much and rather impossible. So for past 6 years, I was practicing this. I was experiencing, because I love experiences. Nothing turns me on more than the new experience. Embodiment, checking what is my truth, what is not. And we can move through this as many selves at once in different areas of your life at completely different speeds. And this is where the multidimensionally come to place, which is also super interesting. Not so much for our understanding mind, but Wilber did amazing job explaining this knowledge, and calls these lines of development. So I call it the reason gifted healers stay broke, brilliant people stay single, and deeply spiritual people still can set a boundary. Let's take 3 lines of consciousness. Line of wealth will organize people probably from 9 to 5, or just waking up from the body, I want to create something on my own. Orange wealth says money proves your worth. You accumulate, you compete, you win. And healthy version of it is a real resourcefulness. The shadow version, if someone is get really stuck in that level, scarcity is dressed up as ambition. If we look at the wealth line and financial in the green memo, this is where it gets uncomfortable with money. Money is dirty, guilt around charging, giving your work away for free because it's the community, because it's a sister, brother, quietly sabotaging your own success so you don't outgrow the people around you. So this is usually, we are serving bigger groups, or we helping others, and we really forget about the self. That's why I select freedom flow need structure. You need to count the freedom flow, because this is where we can develop your own sense of mission, your own signature offering, and the medicine. So yellow wealth sees money as neutral. Money is energy, is a tool. It's energy of exchange. Nothing more sacred or profound than that. You can charge full value without guilt. Be strategic when it serves you, generous when it serves you, and neither one runs your life. It's like money becomes so clear. And also recently I discovered, and it came to my awareness, that actually I am money. I am running my current, and that's why is the currency of money. So I am the producer, the actor, and the director of everything what I earn. So it's very interesting concept. I will have to integrate that in the yellow version of it, but let's see how it goes. So here is the diagnosis. Most gifted healers have done real green work spiritually, bless them, sometimes even touched yellow, and their wealth line is still sitting in green guilt or old orange, going lower, scarcity from family they grew up in. That's why the family constellation systemic therapy, where I had to literally go back and do the groundwork again, because my family system, I was so loyal to certain poverty, war, and my parents' stories, that even though spiritually or financially I could grow and have many business ideas, I wouldn't have the rite of passage from the system. And if you're not going to sort out your family system, you're going to get stuck for years. So this is lived, and this is advice from older sister. Take it or leave it, but it's very, very much true. So the gap is exactly why the healing is real, but the bank account isn't. And this is where it really gets tricky. So line 2 is our sexuality. Let's have a look at this now through the 3 different levels of consciousness. Orange sexuality is about conquest, performance, proving desirability. I would say Tinder would be the exact place. Performance sexuality. If she likes me, hunting, going on dates, it's a little bit there. Green sexuality, if it's more in the heart, is about consent, safety, equality, giving, receiving, emotional processing, real gifts, but also it can lose its aliveness, its fire in the name of doing everything right. So I will also be very careful with sacred sexuality and kind of really embody all lower levels of consciousness and bring a little bit of fire as well. Yellow sexuality can hold both real polarity, real eros, real power, and real consent and mutuality at the same time without needing to collapse into either extreme. So this is very interesting. And the third one, I would like to go through the psychospiritual development, where the orange consciousness spirituality collects certifications and compares who's more awake. I have so many and know so many people who are going for another course. They losing their money. They do not integrate the teachings. And I've been there obviously years ago. And this is crazy because it's not gonna get you anywhere. Green spirituality is communal. It's heart center, but it's often afraid to claim real authority, real lineage, real mastery, because claiming it might seem not humble enough. So people stay a little bit in that inferior state. Yellow spirituality can hold structure and claim mastery without needing dogma or ego, or do it with inflation. So this is what I mean when I say spirituality with structure with soul. This is that yellow organized system where we can put the water to the jug to have a beautiful container so people can drink it. This is our contribution to others. And this is never going to run dry because your ideas, creativity, everything what you've learned has a beautiful structure and you can reapply and refill your jug all the time. So here is the whole map together. The medicine wheel is the container every human moves through: body, emotion, shadow, mind, and spirit. Every real turn of the wheel follows the same shape: death, descent, a rebirth, and integration. We do it every year. We do it from spring through the summer, autumn, and winter. We also do this through going to sleep, waking up in the morning, going work through the day, integrating in the afternoon, and then going to sleep. The medicine wheel mimics all circadian rhythm. So also sometimes what's dying and being reborn isn't just a life stage. It's an entire level of consciousness, like orange dying into green, or the much harder death of green into yellow. And I can say that last death for me during the winter I really thought I'm not going to make it. That took me to the lowest of the low. But thank God I'm back, and I'm integrating the medicine and the contribution in the way it wants it express itself. I'm surrendering it more to the flow with it and giving it a little bit more structure. Maybe that's why I started that YouTube channel. We will see where it goes. I have to still learn a lot, but it kind of wants to move out through me. I don't want to bottle this up. Who knows, maybe if I will move one person to betterment and understanding, then my mission would be accomplished here. So none of us move through these levels evenly. This is also very important. You can be yellow in spiritual insight, very high, and still be orange in your finances, or green in your relationships, in your heart, and still be very red, which is really low, in your sexuality. So real initiation isn't complete until the level you've touched spiritually has actually moved through every line of your life. That's why I like to avoid sticking just to one community, because communities gather around one worldview. If I want to develop on financial life, I'm hanging out with completely different people. My business coach is amazing. He's fantastic with finances. And I'm learning from that there. I also find another community who are more evolved around eros, sexuality, and relating and connection, which, for example, shamanic community wouldn't be able to give me. So expanding a little bit through the systems and worldviews gives you that more likely the evolution and still learning, because we're never gonna sit and suddenly like, oh my God, I know all. There is always something to learn. We are students and the teachers, and that's not the failure. That is just where the next piece of the work is. I really enjoyed this. Studies of transpersonal psychology, that was this symbol and this concept was introduced to me by Dr. Isabella Kopanishin when I was studying with her, and since then I was just obsessed with studying the human consciousness and how we can actually move people safely when these identities and the worldviews actually crashes. That's why the freedom flow happened to be the one modality which I'm creating. And if you are a facilitator, a healer, or a leader, and you know your gifts are real, but something in your business, your relationships, on your own nervous system hasn't caught up to your insight yet, then GAP has a name now. It's not a mystery, it's science, it's psychology, it's a specific line, a specific level, waiting for its own initiation. So obviously I run the diagnostic tools. I can have a look where you are. The ancestors gave me that gift to see and tune it, and I obviously developed through years the way of measuring this through the intuition, and probably it will sound true to you, that the information will be accurate. And this is exactly where the work is done inside Freedom Flow, not just the spiritual opening, but the structure that lets it actually hold it in real life. If that's okay, the link is below, and this is where I will be posting my 12-week coaching program, which you can join anytime if you feel that you are the one who is just finishing certain cycle and needs to grow into the other. And meanwhile, sending you lots of love, and see you on the next one. Aho.